Dear friends, hello. I am Professor Yogesh Chaba from Department of Computer Science and Engineering, Guru Jambeshwar University of Science and Technology, Hisar, Haryana. Today in this lecture, we will study about digital signatures. First of all, please see the contents which I shall cover. After covering brief introduction about digital signatures, I shall take up its types, which will be followed by approved algorithms for digital signatures. A digital signature is basically a way to ensure that an electronic document like email, spreadsheet or a text file is authentic. Digital signatures rely on certain types of encryption to ensure authentication. Encryption is the process of encoding data into a form that only some other authorized computer will be able to decode. Authentication is the process of verifying that information is coming from a trusted source. These two processes work hand in hand for digital signatures. A digital signature is a mathematical scheme for demonstrating the authenticity of a digital message or document. A valid digital signature gives recipient a reason to believe that the message was created by a known sender, such that the sender cannot deny having sent the message and that the message was not altered in transit. We have three important terms related to digital signatures. Authentication, which means message is from genuine sender. Non repudiation means sender cannot deny his message at a later stage, and integrity means there is no alteration in message. Digital signatures are commonly used for software distribution, financial transactions and in other cases where it is important to detect forgery or tampering. The problem of devising a replacement for handwritten signatures is difficult job. Basically, what is needed is a system by which one party can send a signed message to another party in such a way that the following conditions hold. Number 1, the receiver can verify the claimed identity of the sender. Number 2, the sender cannot later repudiate the contents of the message. Number 3, the receiver cannot possibly have concocted the message himself. For first requirement, suppose a customer's computer orders a bank's computer a ton of gold. The bank's computer need to be able to make sure that the computer giving the order really belong to the company whose account is to be debited. In other words, the bank has to authenticate the customer and the customer has to authenticate the bank. The second requirement is needed to protect the bank against fraud. Suppose that the customer buys the ton of gold from the bank and immediately thereafter the price of gold drops sharply. A dishonest customer might sue the bank claiming that he never issued any order to buy gold. When the bank produces the message in court, the customer denies having sent it. The property that no party to a contract can later deny having signed it is called non repudiation. The third requirement is needed to protect the customer in the event that the price of gold shoots up and the bank tries to construct a signed message in which the customer asked for 1 bar of gold instead of 1 ton. In this fraud scenario, the bank will just try to keep the rest of the gold for itself. Now, before coming to technical aspects of digital signature, let us see its history. In 1976, Duffy and Hellman first described the notion of a digital signature scheme, although they only conjectured that such scheme existed. Soon afterwards, Rivest, Eddie Shamir and Edelman invented the RSA algorithm, which could be used to produce primitive digital signatures. The first widely marketed software package to offer digital signature was Lotus Notes 1.0, released in 1989, which used the RSA algorithm. Other digital signature schemes were soon developed after RSA, the earliest being Lamport signatures, Merkle signatures and Rabin signatures. In 1988, Shafi, Micali and Ronald became the first to rigorously define the security requirements of digital signature schemes. They described a hierarchy of attack models for signature schemes. Currently, there exist 3 approved algorithms for generating and verifying digital signatures: DSA, RSA and ECDSA. Now, let us come on to types of digital signature algorithm. There are basically 2 types of digital signature algorithms: symmetric key digital signatures and asymmetric key digital signatures. Symmetric key digital signatures are very rarely used, but asymmetric key digital signatures are very prominently used. Now, first let us see how symmetric key digital signatures works. In this approach of digital signatures, there is a central authority that knows everything and whom everyone trusts, say Big Brother BB. Let us assume that Alice is a customer and Bob is a banker. Each user then chooses a secret key and carries it by hand to Big Brother's office. Thus, only Alice and Big Brother know Alice's secret key KA. When Alice wants to send a signed plain text message P to her banker Bob, she generates KA with entities B, RA, T and P, where B is Bob's identity, RA is a random number chosen by Alice, T is a timestamp to ensure freshness and KA is the message encrypted with her key KA with entities B, RA, T and P. Then she sends it as depicted in figure. Big Brother sees that the message is from Alice, decrypts it and sends a message to Bob as shown. The message to Bob contains the plain text of Alice message and also the signed message KBB with entities A, T and P. Bob now carries out Alice's request. A structural problem with using symmetric key cryptography for digital signatures is that everyone has to agree to trust Big Brother. Further, Big Brother gets to read all signed messages. The most logical candidates for running the Big Brother server are the banks, the accountants and the lawyers. Unfortunately, most of these organizations do not inspire total confidence in all citizens. Hence, it would be nice if signing documents did not require a trusted authority. Due to this problem, asymmetric key digital signatures are used. Now, let us see the working of asymmetric digital signatures. In this method, each signatory has a public and private key and is the owner of that key pair. The key pair owner is the only entity that is authorized to use the private key to generate digital signatures. In order to prevent other entities from claiming to be the key pair owner and using the private key to generate fraudulent signatures, the private key must remain secret. A digital signature algorithm includes a signature generation process and a signature verification process. A signatory uses the generation process to generate a digital signature on data and a verifier uses the verification process to verify the authenticity of the signature. As shown in figure, first of all hash function is applied on message and then the private key is used in the signature generation process. Both the original message and the digital signature are made available to a verifier who checks whether digital signature is valid or invalid. The approved digital signature algorithms are designed to prevent an adversary who does not know the signatory's private key from generating the same signature as the signatory on a different message. In other words, signatures are designed so that they cannot be forged. For both the signature generation and verification processes, the message is converted to a fixed length representation of the message by means of an approved hash function. Verifier performs activities as shown for verification of the signature. A verifier requires assurance that the public key is to be used to verify a signature belongs to the entity that claims to have generated a digital signature. That is, a verifier requires assurance that the signatory is the actual owner of the public private key pair used to generate and verify a digital signature. A binding of an owner's identity and the owner's public key shall be effected in order to provide this assurance. A verifier also requires assurance that the key pair owner actually possesses the private key associated with the public key and that the public key is a mathematically correct key. By obtaining these assurances, the verifier is sure that if the digital signature can be correctly verified using the public key, the digital signature is valid, means the key pair owner really signed the message. Digital signature validation includes both the mathematical verification of the digital signature and obtaining the appropriate assurances. Now, let us analyze the asymmetric key digital signature algorithm with an example. Let us assume that the public key encryption and decryption algorithms have the property that encryption of decryption of plain text P is equal to P. In addition, of course, decryption of encryption of plain text P is also equal to P. RSA has this property. So, the assumption is not unreasonable. Assuming that this is the case, let us again take example of Alice and her banker Bob. In this example, D is private key and E is public key. Alice can send a signed plain text message P to Bob by transmitting EBDA P. Note here that Alice knows her own private key DA as well as Bob's public key EB. So, constructing this message is something Alice can do. When Bob receives the message, he transforms it using his private key as usual, yielding DA of P as shown in figure. He stores this text in a safe place and then applies EA to get the original plain text. To see how the signature property works, suppose that Alice subsequently denies having sent the message P to Bob. When the case comes up in the court, Bob can produce both P and DA of P. The judge can easily verify that Bob indeed has a valid message encrypted by DA by simply applying EA to it. Since Bob does not know what Alice's private key is, the only way Bob could have acquired a message encrypted by Alice if she had sent it. In principle, any public key algorithm can be used for digital signatures. The de facto industry standard is the RSA algorithm. Many security products use it. Now, let us see some approved algorithms for digital signature standard by Federal Information Processing Standards. Currently, there exist 3 approved algorithms for generating and verifying digital signatures. First one is digital signature algorithm. Second is RSA digital signature, and last is elliptic curve DSA. All 3 algorithms are used in conjunction with an approved hash function and have been announced by NIST in July 2013 and published as Federal Information Processing Standard FIPS FIPS 1864. This standard specifies 3 techniques for the generation and verification of digital signatures that can be used for the protection of data. The digital signature algorithm DSA, the elliptic curve digital signature algorithm ECDSA, and the Rivest-Shamir-Edelman algorithm RSA. The digital signature algorithm DSA is a Federal Information Processing Standard for digital signatures. It was proposed by the National Institute of Standards and Technology NIST in August 1991 for use in their digital signature standard DSS and adopted as FIPS 186 in 1993. 4 revisions to the initial specification have been released. FIPS 186-1 in 1996, FIPS 186-2 in 2000, FIPS 186-3 in 2009 and FIPS 186-4 in 2013. DSA is covered by US Patent 5231668 filed on July 26, 1991 and attributed to David W. Kravitz, a former NSA employee. DSA is a variant of the Elgamal signature scheme. The digital signature algorithm DSA can be used by the recipient of the message to verify that the message has not been altered during transit as well as ascertain the originator's identity. The DSA is used by a signatory to generate a digital signature on data and by a verifier to verify the authenticity of the signature. Each signatory has a public and private key. The private key is used in the signature generation process and the public key is used in the signature verification process. For both signature generation and verification, the data is reduced by means of the secure hash algorithm SHA specified in FIPS 181. An adversary who does not know the private key of the signatory cannot generate the correct signature of the signatory. In other words, signatures cannot be forged. However, by using the signatory's public key, anyone can verify a correctly signed message. Next approved digital signature is RSA, which is considered to be the de facto industry standard. In RSA digital signature scheme, sender's private key is applied to a message to generate a signature. The signature can then be verified by applying the corresponding public key to the message and the signature through the verification process, providing either a valid or invalid result. Elliptic curve digital signature algorithm. The elliptic curve digital signature algorithm ECDSA is the elliptic curve analog of the digital signature algorithm DSA. It was accepted in 1999 as an ANSI standard and was accepted in 2000 as IEEE and NIST standard. It was also accepted in 1998 as an ISO standard and is under consideration for inclusion in some other ISO standards. Unlike the ordinary discrete logarithm problem and the integer factorization problem, no sub-exponential time algorithm is known for the elliptic curve digital logarithm problem. For this reason, the strength per key bit is substantially greater in an algorithm that uses elliptic curves. So friends, in this lecture on digital signature, first of all we covered introductory concepts about digital signature, followed by two different types of digital signatures which were symmetric and asymmetric. In last, introduction about three approved algorithms of digital signatures DSA, RSA and ECDSA were covered. Thank you.